Hello. So here is Philip Cargom again. This is Tea with the Druid number 39. Do please say if you can hear me and if you can see this, that our technology is working. Mike Amos saying it's much better. Hello, Holly. Yes. Hello, Amy. Much better sound. That's good. I forgot to press a little button here. That's good, Binny and Beth. Good to see you. I'm sorry for the false start, but here we are together on Monday, the 3rd of September, 2018 at 8 o'clock in the evening on a warm summer's evening in England. I was starting to mention that I received a telephone call just before going on air saying that my mother has been taken into hospital, and she's 95, so she's very fragile. So after doing this broadcast, I will hop in the car and go to the hospital, but she would be in transit now, so it's okay. This is the right thing to do. But forgive me if I'm a little subdued. But in a strange way, you know, what I want to talk about today is relevant, which is this. At the weekend on Saturday, I went to the most wonderful presentation of the work of England's great mystic, Julian of Norwich. And Julian of Norwich, it sounds like a man's name, but in the old days it was used as a woman's name too, as a man or a woman's name, a bit like Robin, for instance, now. And she was one of a group of English mystics in the medieval era who was really quite extraordinary. Imagine the situation. She's, you know, we think we have problems today. She was at a time when there was the plague which eventually wiped out half of the population of Britain. And she's 30 years old, or a young woman, 30 years old, and she's very, very ill, and she thinks she's dying. Her body goes numb, her sight starts to go, and she starts to look inward, and she's preparing to die. The priest comes round and administers the last rites. He shows her the crucifix and tells her to look at the crucifix. She opens her eyes, she looks at the crucifix, and she has a series of 15 visions or revelations. She gets better. She becomes an anchoress, which is somebody who lives in a church and acts like a kind of counselor. They live in a room in the church, and they're involved in the life of the community. So they're not a hermit, as some people think. They participate in the life of the church and the community, but they're living there, and they're like a counselor, a mystic, a sort of hermit living in the church, and so on. So she lives there for the rest of her life in this very busy church in Norwich, north of England. And she spends the next 15 years, she writes a brief account of her visions and revelations. She then spends the next 15 years writing about these 15 visions. It's interesting, you know, like a year for each vision, maybe, but, you know, expanding, working on it. We don't know in what way. After 15 years, so I guess she's 45, something like that, she finishes this work, at which point she is given a 16th revelation. And I thought, I'm going to read you little excerpts, an example of these 3 revelations that she received, and then let's use one as a basis for meditation we can go into. Interestingly, she is the first woman author whose written work has come down to us. So she wrote the first book written in the English language by a woman that we know of historically. There may have been earlier people, but we don't have any record of them. Now listen to, it's interesting, she started off, when she wrote the short version of her visions, she talked about herself being a woman, humble woman who has received these visions and so on. By the time she'd written the longer text, she got rid of the gender, and she called herself a creature, a creature that was received. And in reference to this question of gender, let's look at this. I'll just read you just a tiny bit of this vision where she talks about God as the mother. The mother's service is nearest, readiest, and surest. nearest, for it is most of kind, readiest, for it is most of love, and surest, for it is most of truth. This fair, she talks about the mother Jesus, and then this fair, lovely word mother, it is so sweet and so kind of itself, that it may not verily be said of none, nor to none, but of him and to him, who is the very mother of life and of all. To the property of motherhood belongeth kind love, wisdom, and knowing, and it is God. The kind, loving mother that wot and knoweth the needs of her child, she keep it full tenderly, as the kind and condition of motherhood wills. And as it waxeth in age and in stature, she changeth her working, but not her love. And in this I saw that all our debts that we owe by God's bidding to fatherhood and motherhood is fulfilled in true loving of God. So isn't that wonderful? Isn't that beautiful? Connecting to this idea of motherhood and really suggesting God is beyond concepts of fatherhood and motherhood, but the concept of motherhood, the idea of motherhood, really embodies the idea of deity, the love of deity. And let me read you of the revelation. I mentioned that there was the 16th revelation after 15 years. So imagine this, she's expanded all these revelations over 15 years. And she now talks about her 16th revelation. And I'm reading from this wonderful presentation I heard from Dr. Eleanor Parker from Brasenose College in Oxford at the Fintry Trust on Saturday. She gave us these handouts with excerpts from the Revelations, and she took us through them. And it was a fascinating exploration. We got right inside Julian of Norwich's writing. And what I've done in the blog post that will accompany this is there's a photograph of a statue of Julian of Norwich. There's a link to the Wikipedia article, which is a good introductory overview, a page overview of her life. And then if you want to dive deeper, I've got a 1-hour documentary film that you can watch on the blog as well. And with this session that I did with Eleanor Parker on Saturday, we were able to really get into it in detail. And so here is this 16th revelation. So imagine, what's this revelation going to be? She's had 15. She spent 15 years elaborating on them and deepening her understanding of them. And this is what her final revelation is. And 15 years after and more, I was answered in ghostly understanding, that means spiritual understanding, saying thus, wouldst thou wit thy Lord's meaning in this thing? What is this mean? Wit it well, love was his meaning. Who showed it thee? Love. What showed he thee? What did he show to you? Love. Wherefore showed it he? Why did he show it to you? For love. Hold thee therein, and thou shalt wit and know more in the same. But thou shalt never know, nor wit therein, other thing without end. Thus was I taught that love was our Lord's meaning. And so, of course, in the end, she comes to the core central experience of the mystical way, which is the experience of divine love, hence the title of the book, Revelations of Divine Love. And she says, what is this all about? It's about love. Why? But through love, who showed it to you? Love. What was the purpose? For love. This is the meaning. Love was our Lord's meaning. And so you've heard a revelation from the body of the 15. You've heard the revelation, the final revelation, the 16th one. And now I want to read you just one more, and with that we can slip into a meditation. And for me it's really meaningful, because being concerned for my mother, we all have our mothers, Julian writing about the mother in this way is very beautiful and touching, and it seems fitting somehow. So in this revelation, she says, in the same time, our Lord showed me a ghostly sight, a spiritual sight of his homely loving. I saw that he is to us everything that is good and comfortable for us. He is our clothing, And that love wrappeth and windeth us around, encloses us, hangeth about us for tender love, that he may never leave us. So there's this feeling of being held within divine love. Also in this, he showed a little thing, the quantity of a hazelnut in the palm of my hand. So it's her hand, and she's seeing something like the size of a hazelnut, and it was as round as a ball. I looked thereupon with eye of my understanding and thought, what may this be? And it was generally answered thus. I love that, because often when you have a kind of mystical understanding, it's like telepathy or something. You can't say that it's a voice speaking to you. It's just, it comes into you. The answer comes into you. Maybe you hear it as a voice. Often it's just a thought, as it were, as if you're telepathically connected, or you just receive this Arwen, this inspiration. It was generally answered thus. It is all that is made. It is all that is made. I marvelled how it might last, for methought it might suddenly have fallen to nothing for littleness. It's so tiny, it's this little ball in the palm of my hand, and I could have just dropped it. It might have become nothing. And I was answered in my understanding, it lasteth and ever shall. It will always be there, for God loveth it. And so everything hath its being by the love of God. And Nicole is saying she was up in Norwich. You can visit her church. It's lovely there. And of course, if the term God is a problem for you, just let go of that and just use the term spirit or deity or the divine. She herself talked about gender being in second place to the reality. So we can let go, I think, of any kind of defenses or concerns we might have about the overly Christian or Abrahamic kind of language, perhaps, that one might find here and there. But this lovely idea of the hazelnut. So let's take that. The hazelnut is dear to Druids as a symbol. So let's take that as our image and work with it. By becoming aware now of being in the sacred grove. So you might like to close your eyes to better concentrate on yourself, or you might want to just listen to this, particularly if this is your first time here and you don't quite know the form. By all means, just watch and listen, and then if you like it, come back to it, replay it, and actually do the meditation. But if you want to do it now, just close your eyes to better concentrate on yourself and become aware of sounds far away. Sounds nearer to hand, and then sounds that might be coming from within your own body, such as your breathing or your heartbeat. Allow yourself to just let go as you tune into your breath, breathing you. No strain, no effort, just sensing the breath moving in and out of your body. And as you do that, you become aware of being seated in a clearing in the forest, a sacred place, a place of tranquility and beauty and stillness. The earth beneath your feet. You can feel all the life in the earth. You just allow all your troubles and worries and tensions just to drift into the earth. And you let the energy of the earth rise up into your being, as you begin to tune in to the slow healing rhythm of the earth. And then you become aware of the roots deep in the earth and the way they stretch high up into the air. The roots, the tree trunks spreading high up into the air. The branches and leaves above you, and you become aware of the presence of the trees, their healing and protective power. And you breathe in the scent of the trees, and you sense the peace and the power of the trees, and you sense them blessing you. And you become aware of the sky above you, and you breathe in the energy and the vitality of the sky. The energy of the sky meets the energy of the earth within the center of your being. And becoming aware of yourself in the sacred grove, you allow yourself just to stretch your hand forwards, and you might just feel with your hands. Don't open your inner eyes, just feel the ground. And as you feel the ground, you notice your fingers making contact with a hazelnut. There's a hazelnut that has fallen to the forest floor. And pick it up in your hand and allow it to roll gently into your palm. And then you feel just this very light weight of this hazelnut. And if you wish, you can open your inner eyes to gaze upon the palm of your hand, to see this little hazelnut there. And as you look at this hazelnut, you remember this vision of Julian of Norwich, of her being shown all of created matter, all of the cosmos, represented in a small sphere the size of a hazelnut in the palm of her hand. And just see the hazelnut now and sense it as all the cosmos. All of created matter. And feel your love for this. It's as if at this moment you've taken on the perspective of the divine, of deity, of your core being, your essence, which is divine. And you gaze upon or feel in your hand all of created being. Your awareness of your hand goes away. Perhaps even you allow your hand just to drop down. And all you're aware of is this tiny sphere of all creation. And you sense this sphere filled with love, radiant with love, sustained forever by love. And then you reach out your hand again and you allow yourself to take this hazelnut, this little sphere which turns into a hazelnut, which you just gently allow to rest back down on the earth. You move your hand to your lap. You close your inner eyes. And you just sit quietly and peacefully in your sacred grove. Open to the energy of the earth and the sky, of the trees all around you. May all beings be blessed. May all of life be blessed. May our lives be blessed, and may the land be blessed. And then slowly you become aware of your body. You sense your image of the grove beginning to fade, knowing you can return at any time to the peace and tranquility that you find here. You allow your awareness of the grove to begin to fade. As you become aware of being seated in front of your computer or your tablet or your phone, you take in a deep breath, hold it for a moment, then breathe out through your mouth. And slowly you stretch your fingers and toes. You open your eyes to be fully present, here and now. So, thank you for your messages, which I can see here. I'll I'll go around now to see my mum, and I'll bring with me the love and the blessings that I've sensed in this grove, and that I've sensed with you all here, all of you all over the world, from Brazil to all over the place. I know that there are people. Katie McMahon is saying, like Hildegard. Yes. Julian of Norwich is in this tradition of these great female mystics, and so yes, so many blessings to you, and have a very good week, and I will see you next week, all being well, on Monday at 8 o'clock. If you're interested in Julian of Norwich, the language can be difficult, can be challenging. So you can get an edited version that gives you in modern English. Have a look at the film maybe that's on the blog. I think you'll find that really interesting. Okay, lots of love and many blessings. Bye. And when I get back later this evening, or it may be tomorrow now, I'll read your comments and over a cup of tea. So many blessings, and have a good week.